All right, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from StreetScores, man. I had to wait for the Timberwolves to get them sorry little boys up out of here. Now, I'm ready to break down how the Washington Commanders just invited the weirdest 2025 NFL draft prospect to their rookie minicamp. He's a quarterback that will play running back and wide receiver. And I also want to dive into all of the most successful stories of guys transitioning from quarterback to wide receiver or running back in NFL history. And I'm keeping this specific to guys that made their switch from quarterback after entering the NFL. So we're not talking about guys like my Georgia dog Hines Ward and guys like that. We're keeping it very specific there. But again, I want to dive into this guy's athletic profile. Does he actually have an honest chance of making it? And then if he does somehow, in a miracle, make the roster, how could Cliff Kingsbury potentially utilize his skill set? We're going to dive into all of it and more, but before we do, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to the subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release the informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all of the content. Really appreciate y'all. Again, shouts out to everybody that pulled up to all of my random different live streams for random rounds and everything. Shouts out to all of y'all that pulled up to the Commanders Kings, and shouts out to all of y'all that are supporting the videos right now. Really appreciate y'all, man. And without further ado, let's go and dive into this video right now, man. Let's get it. Adam. All right, and before we get to anything, I want to shout out Mr. Simpson for the big time donation to the CashApp. Really appreciate that. And also for the compliment saying, great job on the video about Jalen Lane. Thank you very much for the support. Thank you for the donation and all of that, man. I feel like at the very least I could do, when y'all donate to the CashApp and I'm not even live streaming, I gotta make sure I thank y'all in my very next video. So I really appreciate that. Big thank you for that. Now let's get into the breakdown. Shouts out to Virginia Tech's own, a local guy, Colin Schlee, who it was reported from Virginia Tech that he signed a free agent deal with the Commanders, but it's being reported from the Commanders side that he's coming in for a rookie minicamp. We'll see if anything's final because he's also, I believe, going to visit the Ravens after he's done with our rookie minicamp. I'm going to keep y'all updated with all of that because we end up signing him. We're going to celebrate that as well because I'm pretty excited about him as a prospect. Now, of course, everybody was talking about him as a quarterback. And then shouts out to Virginia Tech. VTech Edits on Twitter pointed out the fact that, hey, do not sleep on Colin Schlee. Put the Pro Football Focus grade down and roll the tape. This guy is big and fast, 6'3", 225 pounds. An announcer compared him to Mahomes after his first touchdown pass. I did hear that before. And then also he has good deep ball accuracy. But the problem is, and this is why DP Prugler had him ranked as his 36th quarterback out of this draft class. He said tall 6'3" quarterback with impressive athletic testing, of course, a 4.5 340 time, a 39.5 vertical, and a 10.8 broad jump, and a 6.9 3 cone. All ridiculous numbers, especially for a quarterback. He's a 5-year college player, but underwhelming production, only 21 career touchdowns over 40 games, and struggled with accuracy with only a 57.8% completion percentage throughout his career. That's not very good at all. Very raw and a lot to be desired as far as quarterbacking goes. And even when you look at his stats in college, in his first start for Virginia Tech after transferring there, because he wasn't a Virginia Tech guy the entire way, he just got there for 2024. He had 260 total yards and 2 total touchdowns in one game. That was his first start for Virginia Tech ever. But it never became anything sustainable. This guy even had a couple of seasons throughout his college career where he had more rushing touchdowns in a season than passing touchdowns. And in this past season with Virginia Tech, he was third in passing attempts out of their 3 quarterbacks. So you could argue he was third on their depth chart, even though he did get a couple of starts. And I just don't think the guys in front of him, the 2 guys in front of him on the depth chart, were very good quarterbacks either. Which is why it's being reported by Ben Standig of the Commanders that the Commanders are bringing in quarterback Colin Schlee of Virginia Tech for rookie minicamp to play quarterback and wide receiver and running back. Schlee will also attend the Ravens rookie minicamp as well. So let's dive into it. How great of an athlete is he? Well, first of all, looking at him as a quarterback, he's the 20th most athletic quarterback since 1987 to come out of the draft. 20th out of 1,048 quarterbacks. That is insane athleticism with that 9.82. And again, his 4.53 40-yard dash, his 3-cone, his vertical, and his broad jump, all ridiculous. Like elite, at worst, great. And I also want to add the fact that Schlee was the most athletic quarterback in this entire draft class. It was him at number 1. Then you had Donovan Smith out of Houston, number 2, and he had a 9.74. Again, mind you, Colin Schlee had a 9.82. Then you have Brady Cook out of Missouri, 3. Tyler Shuck out of Louisville at 4 with a 9.7. Then you have Connor Watkins out of Villanova, and it just keeps going on and on and on and on. But the point is that he was the most athletic quarterback in this entire draft class, according to his relative athletic score. And then, you know, that's cool and all, but being the biggest fish in the pond isn't that impressive, honestly, because that's not what he's even being brought here to be, a quarterback. He'll work out something like that, but I'm pretty sure they're going to look at him extensively at wide receiver and running back, and maybe that's where people are projecting him to potentially make it into the NFL as a position or a couple of positions. I don't think they're bringing him here to be a quarterback. And so again, being the biggest fish in the pond, being the most athletic quarterback is cool, but if you plan on changing your position to running back or wide receiver, what is his relative athleticism score when you change it to running back and receiver? Is he still a great athlete? And amazingly enough, he actually is. He's actually a better relative athletic score athlete than at running back than he was at quarterback with a 9.84. And again, of course, you also see on the right, compared to the average quarterback, if they were to play the running back position, or if you were to, filter their testing and measurables as running backs, they would normally be a 1.57 on average, not the lowest, on average. While Colin Schlee now actually went from a 9.82 relative athletic score as a quarterback to a 9.84 as a running back. Now, granted, his height being 6'3" is swaying the numbers way further than it should be. But at the same time, it's still very impressive that he could be 6'3" and run a 4.53 40-yard dash, have those verticals and broad jumps together as far as explosion goes, and to also have a 6'9", 1.3 cone and 6'3" is still insane. But yes, that 6'3" height is giving him a little bit of a boost to his overall relative athleticism score, but it's still way better than what I thought it would have been just naturally looking at it when I was first looking at his quarterback RAS. And then let's look at receiver. It goes a little down, but not by much. I mean, his 6'9", 1.3 cone isn't very impressive wide receiver wise, but as it was for quarterbacks and running backs, but it's still pretty good. And then his vertical and broad jump are still elite. His 40 time is a little less impressive as a receiver compared to a running back, but still pretty good. And then 6'3", 211 pounds is more than fine as a wide receiver size-wise. Yeah, I mean, that's an ideal size. You would hope that your wide receivers are that big and can still be that fast. So shouts out to him for still being a great athlete, even when you put him through the lens of a running back or a wide receiver based off his tested and measurables from the combine. And now, even though he is a better relative athlete at running back, technically, according to those relative athletic scores, that was his highest score. It was running back, then quarterback, then wide receiver. But there's way more success stories of quarterbacks switching to wide receiver in the NFL than running back. And just as a heads up, again, like I said way earlier in the video, I'm not going to count guys like my Georgia dog, Hines Ward, or even an Anquan Bolden, who switched from quarterback to another position while still in college. We're keeping it very specific to the guys that switch from quarterback to another position after entering the NFL, because that's what Colin Schlee will be doing. So let's dive into it. First up, you have Julian Edelman. Shouts out to him, man, following a run at quarterback for his Woodside, California high school. Julian Edelman didn't receive any college scholarship offers. He decided to attend the College of San Mateo, where he broke records as a diminutive, speedy quarterback. Edelman then transferred to Kent State University, where he finally was given a scholarship to play football. He became a 3-year starter at the school, running a simple spread offense that put the ball in his hands on every play. While he wasn't the most accurate passer, Edelman's all-around skills made him a legitimate NFL prospect by the time he graduated Kent State. And then the New England Patriots, who had thoroughly scouted Edelman at KSU, picked the former quarterback in the 7th round of the NFL draft. And even though he wasn't even invited to the combine earlier that year, to Edelman's credit, he knew his size and shaky accuracy made quarterbacking unlikely in the NFL. So he prepared himself to play anywhere on offense and special teams throughout the draft process, something that soon found him a role in New England. And then the rest is history. Julian Edelman goes on to be one of the best wide receivers in Patriots history. But remember, he played quarterback throughout the entire time he was at college, even though he did a lot of running at quarterback. It wasn't necessarily like he was throwing the ball a lot, but still he played quarterback. Then you also have Antoine Randall. While at Indiana, Randall established himself as one of the most dynamic players in the nation over his 4 seasons as a Hoosier, running and throwing for a total of 86 touchdowns throughout his career. In Randall's senior year, he finished 6th in Heisman voting as a quarterback. But of course, once he got to the NFL, he transferred and transitioned to a wide receiver. And then he ended up having a big impact in the NFL as a returner / wide receiver, whatever you want to call him. And it's even crazier too, because he and Hines Ward were on the Steelers at the same time, so they were getting really creative, where Antoine Randall even threw a couple of passes in the NFL and things like that. So they dove into their opportunity with the fact that they had these versatile athletes. Then you also got to go all the way back to Gene Washington. I know a lot of y'all may not necessarily know that name. Shouts out to those of y'all who know ball and know about him, because he went to high school at Stanford University. There he played quarterback and was eventually drafted by the San Francisco 49ers in 1969 in the first round of the NFL draft. In the NFL, he then converted to wide receiver. Starting in his rookie season, he made it to 4 straight Pro Bowls and was even selected to 4 All-Pro teams as a wide receiver. That's like literally the best case scenario for Colin Schlee. I mean, of course, the odds are against him in a huge way, but that is like literally your best case. If you're Colin Schlee, you're praying you become Gene Washington. As a Commanders fan, if we end up signing him, you're praying he becomes Gene Washington. You also have Marlon Briscoe as well. Briscoe was drafted in the 14th round of the 1968 NFL draft by the Denver Broncos. In a late September game, he got his first action behind center after the team's starting quarterback suffered a broken collarbone. So this is interesting because, everybody else I've mentioned already knew, entering the NFL, I'm switching. This guy was still trying to be a quarterback at the NFL level. He got the call in the 4th after Joe DeVito, the player ahead of him on the depth chart, was unable to get the job done. And on December 6, 1968, Marlon became the first starting black quarterback in the NFL. He finished the year with 14 touchdown passes and 17.1 yards per completion average, good enough to lead the league yet that year. And then before the start of the 1969 season, he was released by Denver, where he went on to the Buffalo Bills, which, I mean, if you lead the NFL in 17.1 yards per completion average, and they decide you're not going to play quarterback anymore, we know what that is. That's not his inability to play quarterback, but we're not even about to sit here and dive into that, because y'all already know. But with the Buffalo Bills, he made his conversion to the wide receiver position. Okay. And in 1970, he was voted into the Pro Bowl and was selected as an All-Pro as well. And then he also went on to win 2 Super Bowls with the Miami Dolphins. Then next up, you have Brad Smith. This is an interesting one. While with the Missouri Tigers, Smith played quarterback for 4 years while racking up numerous accolades. He was drafted in the 4th round of the 2006 NFL draft by the New York Jets. In New York, he was moved to wide receiver with some time at running back. Maybe this is Colin Schlee as well, where you're trying running back, you're trying wide receiver, you're trying both. Jets fans are familiar with him in the team's seminal formation. Smith also returned kicks and punts, and he holds the record for the longest play in Jets history and the second longest play in NFL history with a 106-yard kickoff return. That's a nice ceiling for Colin Schlee as well. And then, of course, specifically to the Washington Commanders, you can't forget our boy Brian Mitchell at UL Lafayette. He set the college record for quarterback career rushing touchdowns, but ranked number 68 in completion percentage as a 5'11 senior. He didn't have a lot of height. He wasn't very accurate, but that boy could get some touchdowns. And so he became the second greatest NFL return man ever, only behind Devin Hester. And some would say that Brian Mitchell was even better than Devin Hester. But either way, that is literally the ceiling to a Colin Schlee. If you could become one of the best returners in NFL history, that would be insane. And then, of course, as a most recent example, as recent as it can get, you have Taysom Hill, who made that switch from quarterback to running back to wide receiver to tight end to basically everything on offense but offensive line. And he still even plays quarterback at times in certain situations and certain packages to confuse defenses, even just as a threat on the field, even if he's not the one that touches the ball. I mean, I remember that one season in fantasy football where they had him listed as a tight end. I was able to finesse it. I was one of the few people that was able to get my hands on him, and he was throwing touchdown passes, so I was blowing people out because he was a tight end getting quarterback level numbers. It was beautiful, man. It was such a cheating fantasy football season. I had the time of my life that year with that. But my point is, maybe the Commanders have a plan to deploy a triple threat player like him on certain plays. Maybe even get as creative. Walk with me. Let's just completely go Looney Tunes, Disney World imagination here. How about we have a situation where you have Jaden Daniels and Colin Schlee on the field at the same time? Then how about let's go ahead and keep going crazy with it. Let's go ahead and have Deebo Samuel out there in the backfield as well to confuse and scare defenses even more. And then how about you motion 4th round pick Jalen Lane from one side of the field to the other pre-snap just to scare defenses even more. Then the play, how about it results in a touchdown pass to our rookie offensive tackle Josh Connolly, who caught a touchdown at Oregon with his running back and tight end background, man. I'm telling you, man, we can have all the fun we want, man. I mean, you can tell them probably having too much fun with this, but why not get crazy with it, man? We have all of this versatile talent and freak athletes on this team now. Why not have fun? I mean, and Cliff Kingsbury is the type of madman that could very possibly put some ridiculous plays like that in the playbook. People have been begging for like Ben Johnson type of offenses. Well, here's your chance and your personnel to do it, and Colin Schlee could be a part of that equation. I doubt it, but there's something there. Again, we're using Looney Tunes, Disney World level imagination right here. Because let me also add the fact that Jalen Lane threw a touchdown pass last season for Virginia Tech, and Josh Connolly also not only caught a touchdown pass for Oregon as an offensive tackle, but he also ran for a touchdown from a direct snap out of Wildcat, ran 3 people over to run for a touchdown for Oregon as well. We have so many different versatile pieces that Cliff Kingsbury can get as ridiculous and creative as he wants. Now, going back to Colin Schlee, of course, not every quarterback that tries to transition to wide receiver or running back at the NFL level works out. Specifically to the Commanders, y'all remember all of that hype we had behind Terrell Pryor that one summer? You know what I'm saying? So like I said, not all examples end up being good ones, but that's not going to stop me from at least trying, because some people are going to point out guys like Tim Tebow who tried to pivot from tight end after winning a playoff game. Even as a quarterback, he switched to tight end later after winning that playoff game. And then of course you also have Denard Robinson, you know, Mr. Michigan, who switched to running back in the NFL. And then he had a couple of bright moments, but at the same time it never really worked out in the end. But I would still argue, even with all of those bad examples and many more, there's far more bad examples than successful ones. And I would also argue that maybe Colin Schlee should have switched to running back or wide receiver in college so he could have been better prepared for his situation going into the NFL as a rookie. But what does it hurt to at least try and see early in this offseason, especially while we're having like, you know, voluntary practices and things like that? We just have free time. Why not at least see what he can do, what he could potentially become? And again, Cliff Kingsbury is a madman, so if he signs off on it, I believe in it automatically. I'm not necessarily sure if I believe in Colin Schlee as an individual, but if we end up signing this guy and he sticks on to the roster throughout the offseason and we're going into training camp and things like that, he's still here, I believe in Cliff Kingsbury to get something done with him. I don't necessarily believe in Colin Schlee again as an individual, but I do believe in Cliff Kingsbury. I mean, I feel like, honestly, if he can learn how to catch, he might really have a chance to at least stick around through training camp until we get to, like, the final 53-man roster cuts. But who knows? Maybe he blossoms into one of the very few success stories and surprises everybody by actually making the 53-man roster as, like, a Swiss Army knife chess piece for Cliff Kingsbury's unlimited potential of chaos of an offense. I mean, I doubt it, and the odds, again, are certainly against him in a big way. But I would have loved to at least give the guy a chance. And you already know, man, our 4th round pick, Jalen Lane, is probably going to vouch for him as at least as like an athlete, as a hard worker. So we'll see where this goes. I'm going to keep y'all updated to see if we end up signing him. I'm going to keep y'all updated to see if we get some clips of him in practice, seeing how he looks and things like that. If we get a pass from Jaden Daniels to Colin Schlee, of course, I'll probably have that clip for y'all to see, and I'll update y'all and break all of that down. So I'm going to keep track of this so you don't necessarily have to, because this is probably an inconsequential move here where we bring him to rookie minicamp, nothing comes out of it, and he ends up on nobody's team, not even on a practice squad. But I'm just giving you the heads up that, hey, watch out. Maybe the next Taysom Hill, maybe the next B. Mitch, maybe the next Julian Edelman, you never know. Maybe he's just sitting here in the very beginning stages of his very successful, legendary story that will, you know, potentially happen in the future. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please still farm that like button, still farm the subscription button, still farm the bell next to the subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release the informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all of the content. Really appreciate y'all. If you made it this far in the video, I salute you. Make sure you leave a like on the way out. And of course, let me know in the comment section how you feel about Colin Schlee. I know a lot of y'all are from the DMV. Y'all are from Virginia. Y'all may even be Virginia Tech fans, so I can see y'all vouching for him. But let me know how y'all feel about the situation. Do you at least feel like me, where you're not very optimistic that it will work out or happen, it'll be a success story, but are you at least willing to give the guy a chance in early offseason workouts like I am? Let me know how you feel about this whole situation. Am I underrating him as a quarterback? Am I overrating him as a potential running back or wide receiver? Let me know how you feel about all of that in the comment section. I really appreciate y'all. I'm gonna catch y'all later with probably another video tonight breaking down some other undrafted free agents that we're looking at and we're bringing in and signing. Catch y'all later. I'm out.